I'm calling from the Trib. I'd like to confirm a quote.
Getting you around in 2 hours. I'm coming up on deadline.
How much money was involved? Was it over $1,000? Was it over $10,000?
To the Israelites, halt ye not between two opinions. I say to you, make your decision for God now. And so you have. And it is with great pride that you should look upon your labors of these many months. It is appropriate that we pause in the middle of our work week to give celebration and to give thanks. For the dollars you have raised will soon be turned into nourishment for new disciples, bread for their bodies, and Bibles for their souls. Will you join us now, my friends, in the singing of hymn 324?
I'm telling you, Lou, the guy is definitely naked.
Maybe some kind of fraternity initiation.
Looks a little old for that. He's carrying a sign, something about God.
What's going on?
I can't tell from here. I'll get back to you later.
All right. Prescott! Religion writers. Where are they when you really need them?
Marcus is out on assignment.
Where?
United Pilgrim Crusade. They raised a lot of money to open up a new mission in the Caribbean.
Oh, yeah? City desk.
Lou Grant.
Yes, it is.
Arnold Zinner. I've seen you at the press club.
I'm sorry, Mr. Zinner. I don't recall.
I'm an editor and a publisher.
Oh.
Look, Lou, I'm sure you agree that freedom of the press is an important issue. Newspapers have to fight prior restraint wherever and whenever it crops up. Censorship of the news must be nipped in the bud.
Well, sure, but...
There you go, Lou. Thanks a whole bunch for your encouragement. You'll be hearing from me.
Mr. Zinner, can you tell me what... Did you ever hear of a guy named Zinner? I think it was Arnold Zinner.
Yeah? He publishes that cheap weekly with nudes on the front page and headlines like 15 secret places that drive women mad. I think it's called Grabber.
Prescott.
Hey, Joe, what are you doing here?
Well, I was driving along, minding my own business, and I see a naked guy climbing a church. Funny with me. Whenever I see a naked guy climbing a church, I get curious. Think there might be a story here?
Hey, don't ask me. I'm just here doing a profile on the crusade. Maybe this gentleman's going to tell us.
Men and women of the press, my name is Crosley. Dr. Chamberlain has authorized me to make the following statement. We of the United Pilgrim Crusade are saddened at the unfortunate events of this morning. One of our brethren clearly has found the strains of his life more than he could cope with. The members of the crusade and I join in offering our sympathy and our support, and most of all, our prayers. Thank you for your time.
Can we have the man's name, please?
I'm sorry, but to answer any questions would violate our brother's privacy.
Well, can you tell us what the sign means?
The sign?
The sign the man was carrying. God sees all.
I'm afraid I don't know. our brother was under stress. You men and women of the press have an opportunity this morning, an opportunity for restraint. Our brother is a sad and disturbed person. By overexposing his story, you can only make his life even sadder. On the other hand, if you give the events of this morning only the attention they deserve, you'll be doing a service both to your profession and to a fellow human being.
Thank you. You coming?
I'm waiting.
For what?
I'm supposed to meet someone here. They're going to give me the grand tour. You want to join us?
No, I think I'll nose around on my own.
Pardon me, sir. Are you lost?
No, I'm not lost. Just looking around.
I'd be happy to be of help.
Well, I don't need any help.
How can you support that smut peddler, Arnold Zinner?
Who says I support Arnold Zinner?
Arnold Zinner does.
This ad is appearing in the Tribune tomorrow regarding freedom of the press and Grabber magazine. The Los Angeles District Attorney is once again trying to stifle the free press, and we must resist him. And I'm grateful for the support of the city editors of each of our great daily newspapers in this fight.
At least you didn't actually use your name.
Fight? What fight?
Well, come on now, Lou.
I have no idea, Charlie.
But how can you agree to support something like this if you don't know what the issue is?
I didn't agree to support anything. He's using me without my consent. What's this all about?
You don't know?
No.
Apparently got hold of a list of the names, addresses, and phone numbers of every undercover narcotics agent in L.A., and he was going to publish it in this week's issue of Grabber magazine.
And if the names and addresses of those narcotics agents are made public, they become targets.
They'll be sitting ducks.
And how? Fortunately, the DA found out about it before they were going to publish, and he got a temporary injunction.
Wait a minute. Telling a newspaper not to publish before it hits the streets, you're talking about prior restraint. That's unconstitutional.
Maybe.
Well, to tell you the truth, I'm glad you had nothing to do with this thing. I was a little surprised you supported Zinner about this.
I'll call Zinner and tell him we can't run the ad this way.
Wait a minute, Charlie. What makes you think I don't support Arnold Zinner?
Our art group is open to the community. One of our advanced students was just accepted at the Royal College of Art in London.
Mrs. Carson, can you add one more gentleman to your tour?
Sure.
I think you'll enjoy this much more than just wandering around.
Okay, whatever you say.
Wonderful. I'm Agnes Carson.
Joe Rossi.
How do you do? This is Marcus Prescott of the LA Tribune.
I've heard of you.
Right this way, gentlemen.
Quite a collection. Looks expensive.
It is. Well, this one, we outbid this big museum in Europe. It's from what they call the Rococo period.
You know a lot about art?
At the center, I learned a great deal about it. And I love it.
You know, Mrs. Carson, someone might ask, wouldn't all this money be better spent on people who really need it?
Hey, Joe. If you were taking a tour of the Sistine Chapel, is that the kind of question you'd ask the Pope?
Last year alone, Dr. Chamberlain traveled over 100,000 miles to bring his message to the rest of the world.
We have a look in there?
Oh, I'm sorry, I don't have a key for that room.
Oh, what's in there?
Just a classroom. We train more than 50 seminarians a year. They go to our missions in 33 different countries.
You keep all your doors locked?
Next month, Dr. Chamberlain goes to open our new mission in the Caribbean.
Is that what the big fund drive is all about?
You know, it's got to be easier for a camel to get through the eye of a needle than for me to get in one of your classrooms.
Joe, right now, your own apartment, is it locked? Or your car door?
Thank you, Mr. Prescott. We've contributed food, clothing, and medical supplies to more than 500,000 people just since last December.
You must be tithed rather heavily to support all those programs.
And we give gladly, Mr. Prescott. As the Bible says, of those to whom much is given, much shall be expected. Mr. Rossi, are you coming?
telling you, Prescott, there's something going on around here.
Joe, I'm doing a straight feature story on a perfectly ordinary religious group.
Did you see that plaque? You don't find anything suspicious about somebody rubbing out the names of all those charter members? About college boys popping out of the bushes to lead you back every time you wander away? About doors that you'd expect to be open but are always locked?
Doors you'd expect to be open.
I think it was very sleazy of the guy to get your support without you knowing it.
Zinner's a very sleazy guy.
Well, then why support him? Pardon?
Because we have to oppose prior restraint, Charlie.
I just don't like being in bed with guys like Arnold Zinner. I'd rather fight this battle someplace else.
Mm-hmm. The DA isn't giving us much of a choice. Hi, Marcus.
Read your piece on the Holy Rollers, Marcus. Interesting.
They prefer to be called evangelical Protestants. There's the difference, you know.
I can't say I ever thought much about it.
Well, read the religion page, Charlie.
You know, Marcus, I was talking to Rossi last night. He thought the whole crusade operation was maybe a little suspicious.
I think that's consistent for Rossi.
Guy climbs a church, no clothes on. Obviously trying to get some point across. Then he disappears completely. You don't think that warrants some digging?
Lou, it's tricky writing for the religion page. Every reader has an axe to grind. You have to be careful what you write, or the first thing you know, you have the Counter-Reformation on your hands. Excuse me.
How long has Prescott been writing religion?
Maybe 6, 7 years.
I think it took. Hey, Lou, can I talk to you for a minute? Am I interrupting, Mr. Hugh?
No, Jerry. You want to talk to Lou?
Well, to the both of you.
Was something wrong downstairs?
No. It's about Mr. Prescott's article on the United Pilgrim Crusade.
Oh?
What about it?
I was a member once. I mean, I can't believe this. I worked with the Trib 12, 13 years. That's a long time, you know? I mean, it just kills me to see my newspaper print of whitewash like this.
You want to see me about something, Lou?
Oh, Marcus, good. Come on in. I want you to hear this, too. Go ahead, Jerry.
Okay. For a long time, I was a member of the United Pilgrim Crusade. Everything looked just fine. Then I began to learn a thing or two.
For example?
For example, Dr. Chamberlain. Do you know how he got started? Selling baby pictures door to door.
It may not be very classy, but it's not exactly a felony.
Before he started peddling religion, he was in insurance. Boasted he'd make $1 million by the time he was 30 years old. He went bankrupt.
So he's no businessman.
What's he done that's illegal or unethical?
You think Chamberlain goes around advertising his scams? It's a conspiracy, you know? I mean, he and his cronies collect the money from all those donations. 1, 2, 3. It's in a Swiss bank somewhere.
Look, Jerry, suppose a lot of what you say is going on at the crusade. What proof do you have?
Proof?
Documents, witnesses, something.
No, I don't have none of those. Well, look, what I do have is what I know. And I know Chamberlain's a crook.
Well, Marcus, what do you think?
Stories like that circulate about a lot of evangelical groups. The stories are lurid. That doesn't make them true.
Doesn't make them false either. Have you heard anything to support Jerry?
I haven't heard a thing. The story's been published. This is the first negative response I've had.
Jerry's really worked up about it. Maybe there's something to it.
Lou, my daddy used to caution me. Slow and careful.
Your daddy wasn't a city editor.
My daddy was just an old country preacher. I'll look into this if you like.
I like. And listen, I'll put Billy on this with you. Maybe she can help, okay?
Okay, Lou.
Wait, now, but what are you going to do?
Nothing.
Hey, Jerry.
Yeah, Rossi, what do you want?
I couldn't help but overhear. Are there other people who feel the way you do about the crusade?
Yeah, there's a lot of them.
How can I reach them?
I don't think they want to talk about it.
Well, will you give me some of their names?
Yeah.
Oh, Marcus, I read all the background material on Chamberlain. How do you want to split up the work?
I think you should go to the church and talk to a man named Crossley.
Who's he, one of the ministers?
No, he's a layperson. He runs the church's business. He's kind of second in command to Chamberlain. He's a base we should touch.
Okay, what are you going to do?
I'm going to go and talk to the man who climbed the steeple.
What are you reading?
Grabber magazine.
Oh, boy. You put $1 in Arnold Zinner's pocket buying that rag?
Of course not. I stole it from the night guy.
Way to go. Let me have a look at it before you give it back.
I'd rather you didn't open that magazine when I'm having my lunch.
I thought you were willing to die for my right to read Bondage, the Tie That Binds.
Despite the sleaziness of that magazine, there is a critical principle here.
Some principle. As soon as the dope trade gets a hold of those names and addresses, a lot of cops are going to get hurt or worse.
You can't just pick the easy cases to support freedom of the press.
I just wish this thing were being fought out over something a little more worthwhile than Grabber magazine.
I know. Every time I get the feeling okay with what I'm doing, I catch a glimpse of the front cover of that magazine and I wonder, is my neck on the line just so that Arnold Zinner can keep undressing women in public?
I think you'll find the film rather straightforward, but if you have any questions, feel free to ask.
In 1946, the world was reeling from a traumatic war. In these difficult times, the Lord called upon one man, Thomas Chamberlain, to bring the light and hope of a new doctrine to a troubled world. He had just been discharged from the armed forces of the United States with his country's highest commendations for valor. Thomas Chamberlain would be awarded his doctorate in divinity from the Ohio School of Christian Study in Carbondale.
You have to understand, Chamberlain and the others, they're dangerous men.
Dangerous? How do you mean that?
Well, for one thing, they tried to break up our marriage.
I don't follow.
They told my husband to divorce me because I wouldn't follow church doctrine.
Well, it doesn't sound dangerous. I mean, I've heard of other churches do the same thing.
Well, other churches actually have doctrine. See, in the case of the Crusade doctrine, it's whatever Thomas Chamberlain says it is, and that changes every 25 minutes.
In 1958, he came to Rosemead, California, there to establish the First United Pilgrim Church.
I was the editor of the church magazine. As a result, I was always digging into the history. Well, one thing I found out, instead of being a war hero, he was discharged for asthma. And he went to a school that was run by a Bible salesman who wore a barber's collar on him and handed out diplomas as fast as they could print them.
It must have been tough on your faith finding out these things.
I began to get curious.
What about?
Oh, money, expenses. I began to ask questions, and before I knew it, I was out. And I mean out.
Now, our friends would start crossing the street whenever they saw us coming. Even Pam's own parents were told to avoid us.
Once you get on the bad side, you become a non-person. It's like you don't even exist.
Yeah, like those names missing from that bronze plaque.
That's right.
We didn't just get social pressures. The Crusade hit us with lawsuits. And thereafter, our house, our money. I don't mind telling you, Mr. Rossi, that we're scared.
Lou Grant will continue in a moment here on A&E.
Pinehall Helpline.
It was a memorable occasion when on Veterans Day 1968, Dr. Chamberlain addressed more than 100,000 of the faithful during a triumphal tour of the Midwest. During the past decade, the tide of faith generated by the United Pilgrim...
I understand that in Orange County last year, you had a crowd of over 150,000 and that you took in over $1.25 million.
Well, that's an accurate figure. But we measure the success of a rally by the number of souls brought to the Lord. And in Orange County last year, we had 43,000 people come forward.
And then there are the love offerings.
To show how committed you are to Chamberlain.
You're told to bring anything you've got. Money, cars, ice boxes.
I don't understand why people are willing to pay all this.
You see, Chamberlain gets the people to love him. He's kind of like an Elvis or someone like that. You can't get enough of him. And you do whatever he wants you to do.
Now, after a while, you get to believe that without him, you're not going to be saved. You're going straight to hell.
And one thing I'd really like to get across, I'm not a religious fanatic. And I'm not crazy either. So that when I tell you that Thomas Chamberlain is the single true road to salvation, you can trust my words. Believe in him, and you're saved.
Him? Chamberlain?
That's right.
And if you don't believe in it? I'd like to talk about the church, Mr. Smithfield. About your climbing it. About why you weren't wearing any clothes.
Look at them. Just look at them. They have no idea. Satan is lying in wait.
Mr. Smithfield, could we...
Look, I knew that when I tried to tell you about Dr. Chamberlain, you'd just laugh.
I'm not laughing.
They should at least cover themselves. Look, I think maybe this whole interview was a bad mistake. I mean, what do you know about temptation?
I grew up in a small town in the South, Mr. Smithfield, where hellfire and Satan and damnation are very real things, where man's religion still matters very much. And you talk about things like that to most folks out here, and they'll laugh at you, all right. But I'm not laughing, Mr. Smithfield.
The steeple...
The steeple?
It was the only way to get through. To Dr. Chamberlain. We're running out of time. We have less than a month.
For what?
Crosley and the others always keep him surrounded. Makes me a little crazy. Crosley is using the crusade to line his own pockets.
Crosley is skimming?
Sure, he's skimming.
How do you know?
She weepeth sore in the night, and her tears are on her cheeks. Jerusalem, Jerusalem, return unto the Lord thy God.
What?
Crosley and the others. They're stealing. Millions.
How do you know?
Somebody's been playing tricks. But it doesn't fool me. The evidence is there. I've known about it for months.
What evidence? Have you tried to tell Dr. Chamberlain? Is he in on it?
Dr. Chamberlain?
Yes.
Something has got to be done for those people.
And it's incredible. This guy's mother moved into one of their old age homes, right? 3 months later, the homes go bankrupt. Now they won't even answer their letters.
Sounds good.
What's really incredible is what Rossi got contradicts everything Crosley told me. I didn't get a single straight answer in 2.5 hours.
Okay. We got Baldwin. We got the husband and wife testimony. The other people that Rossi has dug up.
And now Smithfield.
What do you think, Marcus?
I'm just not sure about Smithfield. I wish I could be more certain.
More certain? He talked about skimming. He talked about Crosley stealing millions.
And about girls in bathing suits.
How's that?
The man is not stable. He really is kind of distracted. I'm just not sure how reliable he is as a source.
Yeah, but if you take him with everybody else...
I'm not so sure. If this guy is nuts and these other guys are just bitter, then...
Lou, we're having some trouble in layout. I could use your opinion.
Okay. I'll be right back.
What on earth are you trying to do, Marcus? When we're pitching a story to Lou, is not the time to show your insecurity about it.
I just told him what I felt. I don't think we have enough.
Not enough? How much do you need? I know guys who've won the Pulitzer Prize on less than this.
It's hard enough to sell a story without getting shot down by somebody on your side.
We're not just busting up a numbers game or a dope ring. It's bigger than that.
It certainly is. It's millions and millions of dollars these people are getting taken for.
You can take away a man's money or his property. They can be replaced. But when you take away his faith, you leave him with nothing.
Look, Marcus, if you don't want to run with us, what the hell are you doing on this story?
Okay, where were we?
We were talking about going after the crusade.
All right, if there's a chance that Billy and Rossi are right, and Chamberlain is deceiving people, it should be investigated and exposed.
I'm not sure that Chamberlain is involved in this, and he's the man on whom the church is built.
Marcus, you don't think we have enough?
I see a lot of enthusiasm here, but I don't see much evidence.
This is a difficult story for you, isn't it?
I'm having some trouble working up the same glee others seem to have.
Marcus, let me do us all a favor. You're off the story.
Lou Grant will continue in a moment here on A&E.
imagine being bumped off a story like that? He must really be depressed.
I walked out of the building with him this afternoon, and he seemed fine.
Funny guy. He kicked the best story he ever had in his life right in the teeth.
Lou was right to take him off the story. He wasn't going after it.
He's got too many years on the religion page, just waiting for the story to come down from the mountain, written on tablets.
I think you guys are being unnecessarily hard on him. He's having trouble with this story because he happens to be one of those people to whom religion has meaning. He believes.
Maybe he should be in a seminary.
He's a good writer.
But we're in the newspaper business. A good reporter's got to have an instinct for the jugular.
Oh, I don't know. Look at Rossi.
We're knocking the hell out of Marcus Prescott because he's gentle and cautious and he's no killer. Aren't we in a funny business?
The law says that any religious organization which receives a California tax exemption,
For example, a crusade.
for example, the Crusade, that such an organization must meet the following requirement that no part of its net earnings may benefit any private shareholder or individual.
Which means that church leaders shouldn't get rich off their churches.
And if they do, the state can prosecute.
I wonder why they haven't.
This may come as a surprise to you, Miss Newman, but you haven't told me anything new.
You've heard all this before? You've had people come forward with testimony against the United Pilgrim Crusade?
Yes. Not the same people that you've interviewed, but the stories are similar. I've been building a file.
Oh. Well, when are you going to move against them?
Maybe never.
Why not?
Because, unfortunately, the other people in the office don't feel the same way I do. And in a way, I can't blame them. Let's say you're a young attorney in the office hoping to get ahead. You have a choice. You can spend your time going after a religion that's encouraging people to pay their taxes, be faithful to their spouses, and brush their teeth. Or you can go after murderers, thieves, and crooked politicians.
What if the people behind the crusade are thieves?
Let me put it like this. When you go after religion, you run the risk of appearing to attack God. And that'll cost you votes in the valley.
So, if we go after the crusade and we can prove all we're saying, we're still all alone.
Well, you may be alone for a while, but if the Tribune can make some noise, maybe this file of mine will begin to look more exciting to my boss.
Lou Grant.
Yeah.
I'm Arnold Zinner. I'll come right to the point. I want to thank you for your support, Lou.
Why thank me? I had nothing to do with it.
And to ask you if you'll appear in court on the magazine's behalf.
You want me to testify?
Day after tomorrow.
No chance, pal.
There goes Western civilization.
I know we have a different approach to journalism. But if the courts are allowed to exercise prior restraint in this case, aren't they going to use it against the Trib?
We'll fight that battle when the time comes.
Look, Lou, what you may be forgetting...
I'm not forgetting anything. I know all the arguments, and I'm not biting. Goodbye, Mr. Zinner.
My lawyer told me in our system of justice, precedent is where it's at. Once the courts make a decision in a single case, that precedent becomes the law. Now, like it or not, all publications are the same, whether it's Grabber Magazine or the Los Angeles Tribune. The way it was explained to me, if I lose my case, you could be next.
Listen, Marcus, you mentioned a woman at the crusade. You said she took you on a tour, remember?
Agnes Carson.
I'd like to talk to her. I thought maybe a couple of good quotes would give the story a little more balance.
A couple of quotes?
Yeah, then I thought maybe I could interview a lawyer who supports the Crusade's position.
Do you think that a couple of quotes would be enough to give Chamberlain's side of this story?
I'm going to be fair, Marcus.
Well, I can't find it. It's got to be here somewhere. I'll keep looking, okay?
Thanks.
Excuse me.
Yes, Art, what is it?
How you doing?
Fine. Bishop Caldwell spoke on free will at the Immaculate Heart, and the Interfaith Council of L.A. has issued another position paper in favor of people not hating each other.
Mm-hmm. I don't get it. It seems to me that you had the best story of your whole career, And you let yourself get bumped off of it. And what gives?
Yeah. Everybody thinks that the crusade is a good story.
And you don't?
I just think I don't know. It seems to me that people get an awful lot of pleasure out of labeling a man of God as a hypocrite.
But if he is a hypocrite, isn't he fair game?
You know, my daddy was a preacher in a small town. When I was a little boy, we were coming out of a market one day. As we walked down the road, the clerk came out of the store shouting, "Thief, stop, thief." A policeman jumped out of his car, grabbed my father, and marched him all the way back to the store. I never will forget the look on people's faces when they saw my father being moved down Clay Street like that. When we got back to the store, the clerk said, "Oh, no, you've got the wrong man." And they released him immediately. But the rumor got around town that Reverend Prescott had been caught stealing. Everyone wanted to believe it because my father was a preacher. So, I always think twice before I yell thief.
Damn it, Marcus. You should be on this story.
Dr. Bunning, what do you think of the United Pilgrim Crusade?
I think they have a splendid art collection.
Oh, wait a minute. You're not going to get off quite so easily. I asked you to join us because we're wrestling with a difficult, touchy story on the crusade. We need the opinion of the established clergy.
Okay, I'll be honest. Their art collection is a little pretentious.
What else?
Well, to tell you the truth, I don't respect the leaders of the crusade.
Are you aware of charges that they've been ripping off their congregation by diverting money into their own pockets?
Yes, I've heard that.
Do you believe it?
It wouldn't surprise me.
What would you think if the Attorney General decided to sue them?
I would be appalled.
Really? I would think you'd support getting rid of the charlatans in your profession.
Mr. Grant, there aren't many things that trouble me more than seeing the poor and the helpless taken advantage of by the clergy.
Right, exactly.
But there are one or two. And one is the sight of a whole religious movement under attack by the state.
Wait a minute. Matters of faith and religious doctrine aren't under attack.
We're talking about money and a con game.
Isn't it the state's job to make sure a tax-exempt organization conforms to the law?
Now, I think there's a more important principle at work here. That the church's business should in no way be the business of the state.
Nobody here is challenging that principle.
Oh, I think you are. I don't believe you would be tolerant of state interference if it were the press's First Amendment rights we were discussing.
If the state can't look into a charitable organization which is taking advantage of the people who donate to it, then we're left wide open to any self-serving charlatan who throws a cloak around his shoulders and calls himself a religion.
Mr. Grant, I don't like the United Pilgrim Crusade. But sometimes in life you find yourself having to defend somebody you don't respect.
I don't know what I can tell you about the details of the crusade. Maybe you should talk to Dr. Chamberlain or Mr. Crossley.
Well, what I'd really like to talk about are your own feelings.
What do you mean? Will actually be quoted in the paper?
In black and white.
I guess I'd just like to tell everyone how grateful I am.
Grateful?
To Dr. Chamberlain, to the crusade. You should have seen me. Before I joined, I was a mess. All I used to do was sleep. I mean it, I would just sleep away the day.
And when was this, Mrs. Carson?
2 years ago.
And what changed?
One day, I went to a rally. I don't know what drew me there. Must have been God watching out for me. Dr. Chamberlain was speaking there.
What did he say?
He told me he loved me, and I knew he meant it. That was the day I learned how to pray.
And that changed your life?
I became a child of the church. I did what Dr. Chamberlain told me. I began to dress modestly. I took care of my body and my house and my family.
And what does the church ask in return?
I volunteered them my time because I don't have a job. And, of course, we pay the tithe.
How much is the tithe?
27% of what Donald earns.
27%.
Some people say that's too much. But how can you put a price on salvation?
Isn't it hard to make ends meet?
People think they need a lot of things they really don't. We don't really need a car. We don't really need a TV. Dr. Chamberlain taught us how to live on a budget. When I go to the market, I just have to stretch our dollars. We have to be careful because of the gas bills, electricity, everything. It's getting so expensive. And now we'll have to keep up our loan payments.
Loan payments? On what?
The loan we took out for the new mission. The Crusade sent a letter from the church explaining how to get a bank loan. Donald and I got our money just in time to make our contribution.
What was the hurry?
Dr. Chamberlain and Mr. Crosley have to leave for the Caribbean in less than a month. We were running out of time.
And you gave them money that you didn't have?
Oh, it's an investment. Priming the pump. That's what Dr. Chamberlain calls it. So one day, all our good works, all our generosity will be paid back.
Got a minute, Lou?
Of course. What is it, Marcus?
I've been thinking about Chamberlain's church.
What about it?
I remember Jeremiah.
Jeremiah?
In the Bible. You know what he said? Let not your prophets that are in the midst of you beguile you. I have not sent them, saith the Lord.
Wish I'd said that.
You know something? I think you did. I just wasn't listening. I want back on the story a little.
You do? Really, Marcus? You want to go after it?
Yes, I do. Very much.
Lou Grant will continue in a moment here on A&E.
And hold it.
Oh, sure.
A&E returns to Lou Grant.
Excuse me, Joe.
Yeah, what is it, Marcus?
I need some help. It's about the Crusade. I'm back on the story.
Yeah, I heard. What can I do for you?
I went back to talk to Smithfield, but he's being guarded by some young athletic type from the Crusade. Maybe if you could distract the watchdog, it'd give me a chance to interview Smithfield.
Why don't you just tell me where he is? Billy and I will get to him.
No, it's my source. I can handle it. If you don't want to run with this thing, what the heck are you doing on the story?
You really want this, don't you?
It's a good story.
Hey, what are you doing? Stop it! Oh. Hey!
Mr. Smithfield, it's Marcus Prescott.
I'm not supposed to talk to you.
Please, we don't have much time.
Please, go away.
This is Billy Newman, also from the Tribune. The last time I was here, you mentioned some things that might be helpful.
We won't use anything in the paper you don't want us to.
We heard about what the Crusade is doing. The closing of the old age homes, the foreign money exchanges. When I was here, you said we had less than a month. For what?
It was all a mistake. I shouldn't have talked to you.
In less than a month, Dr. Chamberlain is going to the mission. Mr. Crosley is going with him. Now, does that have anything to do with your climbing the church steeple? Is there something you should tell Dr. Chamberlain before he goes to the Caribbean?
I can't.
You told me about the devil, Mr. Smithfield. The last time I was here, you told me about Satan. Now, if you hold back from telling us the truth now, isn't it Satan who will profit from your silence? Isn't it the thieves and the robbers, the Crosleys of this world who will profit from your silence? She weepeth sore in the night, Mr. Smithfield, and her tears are on her cheeks. Jerusalem, Jerusalem, return unto the Lord thy God. Mr. Smithfield,
return at last to the truth.
The printouts.
What did you say?
Printouts.
And what printouts?
They're in the closet by the back door.
Open the door!
Everything's there. All the details. I was in the accounting department when they made the computer program. How they did it, everything.
That was some show back there.
Not for nothing was I a preacher's son.
I noticed you really got all that jargon down.
Billy, I believe all that jargon.
There,
That's it.
the goods on the crusade.
It's a really clever way to cover up the illegal transfer of millions of dollars.
How do they do it?
By setting up a separate fund for phony missions, channeling all their donation money through it into their personal bank accounts. You know that trip Crosley and Chamberlain are planning next month? It's not just to dedicate a new mission. The real reason is to make a bank deposit. A rather hefty bank deposit.
These are copies, of course. The originals are in safekeeping, and there is another set we intend to send to the Attorney General's office.
Well, yes, these are our financial records, but I can't imagine any legal way for you to have obtained them.
They were given to us.
And you don't deny they're yours.
No, why should I? They seem to be all in order to me. Apparently, even having read them, you seem to have some doubts about the crusade.
To say I have doubts, Mr. Crosley, is to put it too mildly.
Of course, you realize you have no right to these documents.
Tell me then, Miss Pinchon, how can I put your mind at rest?
Our financial people looked at your records. What they found was Swiss bank accounts, Caribbean bank accounts, world travel, excessive tithes, and donations. Are they right or are they wrong?
Why, your accountants are absolutely right.
It is true that we maintain large accounts in foreign banks, but it is also true that we have missions all over the world, missions which must be funded. It is true we travel in comfort, but we deal every day with opinion makers and world leaders. They expect a certain standard of us, and we maintain that standard out of respect for them. They'd be less open to our message if we didn't.
Even if all that were true, does it justify taking so much from people who can't afford it?
Ask and it shall be given. Mr. Grant, my people give willingly. And look what they get. They get faith. They get hope. They get something to believe in. They get something to belong to. And they get God. We all sacrifice. They give their money to the church. I've given my life.
I expected raunchy. I didn't expect gross. I don't think they could do anything worse than this.
What about printing the names of those undercover narcotic agents?
What a scrime ball. To think they want to turn this guy into a hero of modern journalism. You're well out of it, Lou.
I'm going to testify.
You're what?
I don't think I have a choice. We have to resist prior restraint. We have to defend our right to publish even when it's in a cruddy magazine like that.
What about those narcotics agents who'll be revealed?
By delaying this long with a temporary injunction, the DA has had a chance to warn all those guys. That should protect them.
This newspaper, the Tribune, has vilified the good people of our crusade. And this same newspaper has gone to court to support this magazine in its effort to debase, degrade, and destroy our young people. Need you any further proof of how Satan works? We are being tested, my friends. We are being attacked on all sides. The government is moving against us. The Philistine press is screeching its hatred. Some of our brethren have turned against us. But we will hold together and we will prevail because we walk in the clear light of truth. Truth.
Good morning, Mr. Prescott.
I'm surprised you're willing to say hello to one of the Philistines.
I've been reading your articles about the crusade. It's not how you make it sound.
Everything I wrote is the truth.
I know you mean well, even if you don't understand.
I think I do understand. God bless you.
Tensions are high on any crime scene, but has the LAPD gone too far too many times? Bill Curtis examines the issues on an all-new American Justice tonight. Now, a down-and-out dope addict comes to the aid of cops. Don Meredith co-stars in Police Story, next on A&E.